gonna change the world, change the world, change the world, yeah.
Tim Storey and Sally Colon-Petree. This is Celebrate Transformation. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. People are loving our show.
They are. And I think they're enjoying the outfit coordination that we have going on too.
Yes. So we coordinate our outfits just because.
Just because it's fun.
Yes. It's over 20 years of friendship, and we care about people. And that's why we're so excited about the guest that you see below, Miss Amy Van Slambrook. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Sally. It's great to be with you both.
So Amy is coming from Florida today. Is that correct?
Yes.
And beautiful there, right? Just a beautiful area.
It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It's our own little corner of paradise here, even though it's hotter than hot in October.
So Amy and I are friends. We do other projects together. We also have a summit coming up on mental illness and depression that's coming up very soon with the Red Songbird Foundation, that she's going to be part of it. But let me just read a little bit about who Amy is. She is a psychotherapist and a life coach. She uses her personal journey of healing lifelong traumas to help others do the same by giving voice to their unhealed wounds that have been affecting their lives and relationships. And she's been a professional doing this for over 20 years. Wow. And she is excellent in the area of trauma. So, Sally, have you ever been through any trauma in relationships?
Just a little bit.
All right. So I'm going to let you ask Amy anything you like first, and then I'm going to go from there.
Oh, so I just want to know, someone like a psychotherapist, how do you deal with some of the stuff that's going on right now with all the uncertainty and this pandemic, and how do you process through it all?
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, I've never been through a year like this. So it's been sort of learn as you go along, which is a lot of what trauma healing is anyway, because life still happens. We can't put a pause on all of life, and I certainly can't personally or professionally. And so you have two kind of processes going on simultaneously. You have, how do I deal with something I've never seen before? And that's something I've had to go through. So keeping close friends closer, even over Zoom or phone calls, keeping connected with my own coach, the amazing Tim Storey, my own therapist at times, and my family, as well as, under all of that is really staying grounded in my faith. And this year, I don't know if you guys both have found this, but my guess is you have. My faith has been tested more than ever before. And that's saying a lot, when you've been through a lot of pain like the three of us have. Mm-hmm. This year has tested it in new ways, but it's so exciting because at the same time you can see, wow, I'm putting to use skills I didn't even know I had, and God is using me in ways I didn't even know I could be used. So it has been one step at a time and not getting dramatic in the drama.
Yes.
As a wise man once said.
That sounds familiar.
So, Sally, I have a little bit of a wonderful thing that I want to do with me, you, and Amy today, is that I want to talk to Amy about a little bit of my trauma when I was a kid. And then, Sally, I want to see what you choose to talk about, what trauma you went through as a child, and her help us unpack that. And then it's going to help the audience.
I love that. Let's do it.
Okay. So here's what I want to say. I remember when I was 10 years of age, I was so happy. And what I'm about to tell you is how it changed when my father passed away. So I was so happy. I was playing Little League Baseball. I even remember the name of the team, the Braves. We ended up winning the championship that year. I was a really good third baseman. I was enjoying my school. I had friends. I never wanted to miss school. And one day, my father decided to go get food for my mother. And he was going in his station wagon. And we were so excited about this station wagon because he had saved a long time to get this big station wagon. And we had gone from a Volkswagen Bug to a station wagon. So we were on the way up. but a life interruption was about to happen that would change us forever. He was going through a green light, and a man ran a red light, hit my father, and he died.
Wow.
And I remember, because of the way it happened, we did not find out until the next morning when the police officers showed up to our door at about 7 a.m. Now, I will tell you, we were not equipped. We did not have the right tools. My father is the one that brought more of the joy to my house. My mother was a disciplinarian. I found that my older sisters decided to not really be too present. They would do other things. In fairness to my older sister, Berna, she was married at the time. The other two sisters just got busy. They always stayed at the friend's house. My brother just was always at his friend's house. And I was listening to my mother cry for the first time. I'd never heard my mother cry. Now, to Sally and Amy, I thought the crying would maybe be like one night. No, this was constant, but she did not know that I could hear her cry. And so I had this trauma, but yet I had this personality that was outgoing, captain of every team I was on. So there was expectations of what little Timmy should be like, but I had this inward pain. Okay. So I believe it affected me. So Amy, maybe help me with what could have happened at that time.
Right, exactly, Tim. And every time I hear you tell that story, you know, immediately where I go is into that home, looking at the world through your eyes at 10 years old, you know, thinking about how life must have felt to you and just how you were trying to make sense of all of that, you know, and we make sense of those events by, how do I get safe? That's where our child brain goes. Where is safety in this situation? Where can I go that feels predictable and reliable?
Wow.
What's amazing to me, Tim, is that all of those events that you just described are actually exactly what you do every day better than anybody in the world. You take people going through their life like your dad was through that intersection, and all of a sudden they get hit. Wow. You know, and everything stops. And you then help them reconstruct, you know, and part of the way you do that is hearing people's pain when they don't think anybody else can, just like you did for your mom.
Wow.
What you do is go in and be the one to bring sense and calm and solidarity at a time when nothing in your life felt like either of those things. You know, you are the voice of wisdom. You are the one who says, Mom, you never, ever have to worry about money ever again in your life.
Yeah.
And you say to people, you never need to worry that something so big is going to overtake you in your life that you're not going to be able to withstand it. And I'm going to help you develop the muscles to be able to get there, and I'll do it for you until you can get there.
Okay. I've never heard it explained so well.
So good.
I'm feeling emotional, like, wow. Because even what she said, Sally, about the intersection, because it was an accident. And in fairness to the police officer, because it was a policeman, but he was only in his second year. He thought he had the siren on. He was chasing somebody. No siren, runs the light, hits him, and we later forgave him as Christians. He even came and visited our home. But wow, to think that God used this experience, that I'm able to help people that are at a intersection in life where they have a life interruption that can just finish them. And I listen and then use the tools that I've learned. Sally, how did that just affect you?
Whoa! First of all, I don't think if I was the one that had to talk to you after you said what you said, I don't think I would have come up with what Amy just came up with, to compare the trauma from the accident to her, to that becoming what your life is now, the interruption, the way you now sort of, you know, come into people's lives that have gone through similar, but just the way you did it was so awesome and beautiful. And it just shows that you heard every single word he said.
Yes.
And then you process it for him. That to me is the key, you know, with everything that we do with coaching and you with being a psychotherapist. I love the way you broke it down. It was beautiful.
I love it. And I think that that's one of the beauties of Amy Van Slambrook is that, you know, she is a psychotherapist and she's one of the best at what she does. But as you see, she cares and she's very intuitive.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Sally, let's go to your childhood for a minute.
Okay, I want to go there, but I will say that you're such a single task listener. I'm watching your face and just how intense you're listening to him, and it's very difficult to be a single task listener, and you can tell that that's what you are. So for me, I think my biggest traumatic thing as a child was I was discriminated against in my neighborhood. I don't know why my light just flipped up like that. I went through a lot of discrimination. So I grew up in a neighborhood that was all Italian. We were the only Hispanic family, and the kids in the neighborhood were not allowed to play with my sister and I. So we were not invited to our block party. They burned our garage down 3 times to get us out of the neighborhood. We got into, there was bullies that waited for me in the alley to try to beat me up every day after school. So I grew up with a lot of discrimination as a Puerto Rican, as a Hispanic woman. And that, I think, is what caused a lot of me feeling very low self-worth and low self-esteem, which I'm actually still processing through, not as big as it was.
Yeah.
Because I understand it now, but I'm still who I am for 40 something years, you know? So yeah, I'm still processing through that, but tell me about that.
Well, you know, I think when I hear about that, Sally, it was an environment that could have made you incredibly jaded and have incredible trust issues, as well as walking around really, for very good reason, feeling like the world was against you and ready to pounce, just like those bullies were at the end of every day, ready to burn down your garage. And so that sense of safety and security must have felt fragile. And yet what's so beautiful about your spirit is that you're constructing that for other people. You have defiant joy and you have defiant love for other people. I've seen when you talk about the way you coach and the way you help people construct goals and the multi-layers that you go into as you help them step into a better version of themselves after you've had to go through divorce and being a single mom and just navigating through all of life.
Yeah.
And yet you have taken what could have set you up to have a very angry stance at life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you have turned that power on its ear and said, no, I am going to be the champion. I'm going to stand up in the alley to the bullies in other people's lives.
Yeah.
I'm going to establish some safety for my daughters in the way that you're raising them. And even if the garage burns down, I'm still going to be joyful. I'm still going to be loving. And there's nothing you can do to dissuade me in that. It is your powerful spirit that's just amazing, you know, because depending on the way your parents handled that, that would have been critical to really know, you know, how you walked out of that. Clearly, they loved you in the middle of all of that and provided some level of predictability. Otherwise, I would think that it would have been, would have left a lot more scars and an ability to open up to people. And you have the most loving heart. You have this joy, whether it's the ducks or whether it's, you know, your children or, you know, whatever it is, Sally, that is one of the scariest emotions for people with trauma to have is joy. Because we were vulnerable. We're vulnerable when we're joyful. And it's an incredible statement of strength.
Thank you. You know, I will say this, it took me a long time to get to where I am right now.
Yes.
I was very angry. And because of it, it was very difficult for me to feel happy and joyful in my soul until I went to therapy, you know? So really like 4 years ago is when I think felt for the first time what real, pure, raw joy was. And once I felt that, I was like, I want this for the rest of my life. Whatever I need to do to have it, I'm going to do that.
Wow.
So I've put in a lot of work, but man, it feels good when you're here.
Oh, the world goes from black and white to technicolor, just like in The Wizard of Oz. And that's what happens. It's like we wake up and, you know, we're in this beautiful, colorful land of Oz. And it really is, I believe, the way God wanted us to live. But trauma really does make it all of that black and white. So that is beautiful.
One of the things I'm loving is two amazing, beautiful women affirming and confirming each other. I'm loving this dialogue between you two because I'm loving, Sally, what she's saying about you. She's seeing that joy, because I know Sally very well for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've known times when she was not feeling good, but yet she would have a big party for her girls at the house. But I knew that day she was working through something with, you know, something with her father's passing or something like that. It was horrific, but she would just continue to stand strong.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, I was going to say, I didn't know how to do that before. You know, I think my focus was always on everyone else and what I can do to keep everyone else safe. But I think really when I started therapy, I had to sort of point the finger at me and start taking care of me. How do I make myself feel safe?
Yes.
And that was a big job for me because I didn't know how to do that. I just knew how to make everyone else feel safe. And I looked to everyone else to make me feel safe. And the expectation that I put on people, you know, they couldn't reach that. So I really had to come to terms with how do I make myself feel safe? And that really came down to me learning to love myself and getting to know me and putting some attention on me, which seems selfish. And then I realized that's not selfish at all. You know, we need to do that for ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Amy, I want to see if you go with this story with me. Is that, let's pretend you had a little red wagon. Do you guys remember the red wagons?
Yeah.
I use the illustration that many times we just put all this old stuff in our little red wagon and we carry it from decade to decade. Okay.
Yes.
And that would be some of our hurt, our trauma, broken relationships, divorces, whatever took place. How much of our stuff should we carry in our red wagon? And how much do we just take out altogether?
Exactly. Well, I think part of the way we decide that, Tim, is how much we're letting that stuff in the red wagon weigh us down. You know, I think the gifts in life and the things that really are meant to propel us into our future are, as God describes, you know, my burden is light. And so I believe the wagon ought to feel light. If you start to feel a tug, if it starts to feel too heavy, then I believe it turns into more of an albatross than a little red wagon. And
wow.
Things that, and I know so many of us think that, well, if I feel guilty long enough, if I carry this stuff around with me long enough, whether it's things that we've done wrong or wounds that we've had, you know, somehow we'll show that we appreciate the gravity of what happened, or we'll appreciate what we did wrong and how sorry we are, when really it's cutting those things loose and forgiving ourselves, forgiving the other people in our life so that it doesn't have that weight, because it's going to slow us down as we try to take that red wagon with us. I think it's important to really be able to go into our past, like both of you have done so bravely, not be afraid of anything in our past, because we have to grab the gifts from it. Not run away and just say, well, I'll just forget that happened and adopt a positive mindset. you can't really do that in an authentic way if you don't face what's happened, heal it, and take the gifts from it and walk away.
Okay, Sally, I'm going to ask her one more question, and then I'm going to have you jump in because this is right up our alley, mostly your alley, Sally. We're gonna shift gears a little bit to trauma and relationships and how much we should share.
Yes.
Amy is great in relationships. So I gotta go there with you, Amy. All right. So if a woman like Sally goes on a date, like she meets this amazing guy, how much of her past should she share on a date?
That's so
Did she share about divorce? Did she share? How much of the stuff does she share? When should someone share the stuff that's in the red wagon?
That's such a good question.
And then Sally, you could ask her anything you want after that. But
I'm ready. I got all the questions. I'm ready.
I love it. No, that question isn't on any of the dating apps. I don't think, how much of our stuff. But I think one of the most important things in all seriousness is to really first understand who it is you're talking to. How well is he equipped to handle the beauty and the depth and the richness of your journey? And that's something that I've had to learn to do. Not everybody is deserving or can handle it.
Wow.
And I guess that's one thing. If we do share just enough, look and see how they handle it. But I think sharing what you feel comfortable, even as you share it in media, as you share it out in the public, those things I definitely think we can share openly, because that person either has discovered it or that'll discover it after the first date when they're, researching us on social media like they can now. I always say I want somebody who has been through enough of life to know his own soul, and that I want him to have experienced enough of life and the messiness, because when we've had a lot of that, we need to be matched with someone who can really appreciate what we've gone through and isn't afraid of it. And so gauging how much he can tolerate that, I think, is really important. But understanding that not everybody deserves it. So probably waiting a few dates to share some of the deeper things. Right now, emotional intimacy is something I guard people against, because I'm like, if you're texting, you go to emotionally intimate places way too soon. Suddenly you're checking in morning, noon, and night, when those spaces in our lives used to be reserved for the closest people. I didn't say good morning to anybody who lived outside my home before we had, texting and things like that. So I say, people have to earn their way into those places in our lives.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think that it's, for myself, I've learned the hard way because I was far too open too quickly. And when I talk with other women about that too, say, it's a precious part of your life. So he's got to earn his way there by showing you that he's trustworthy.
Wow. So I'm like this right now. I have this road, that road, that road, that road that I want to go down. And I'm like, which one is the most priority right now in what we're talking about? There's so many questions that I have. And I know that Tim asked that question because I do tend, and I think it's because of my upbringing, I do tend to give too much too fast.
Yes.
What I'm trying to do, even in the moments where I feel like, but I trust him, but this feels good, I want him to know, I've been telling myself, no, cállate la boca, which means be quiet in Spanish. No diga nada, don't say anything. Let him talk, right? So what I've been doing when I go out, and I'm on at least one of these dating sites because that seems to be the only way to really meet people.
And she sends me the pictures of the guys.
I do. I'm like, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about this guy? And so, but here's the awkward thing about these sites, that people want to know things right away because they don't want to spend time, because they're just going to swipe there's so much inventory now that they're just swiping. So if you're not saying, for instance, I'll give you one example. Here's me being vulnerable, ready? So this attorney, this is like 3 weeks ago, this attorney reaches out to me. He's like, oh my gosh, we want the same things and this and that, you know, and you're so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, you know, how old are your kids? Because he's like, I see you're a mom. How old are your kids? And I go 13 and 14. And he goes, oh, well, we're not in the same place. I'm ready to travel. So this is not a match. So it was like an instant. And I was like, dang, okay. So, which was a little brutal, but in a way it was like, okay, let's not waste each other's time. So he just swiped left and kept on moving. So that's kind of the weird part about dating right now. But what I'm learning and what I'm really working hard and being intentional with is not giving too much right off. I think maybe third date, if I feel like things are going good, I don't even give my phone number until after the first date. So we just chat because what if the first date he ends up being some creep that now has my number? So really around the third date is when I start to open up a little bit. So they tend to open up big with me and I just listen, but I'm not giving them what they're giving me at that time because I'm not ready. So I really am getting better about that.
Good. And it's hard. It is hard because there's an atmosphere of almost immediate trust.
Yes.
Profiles or because of how a person is opening up about themselves. And I think there is so much power in mystery.
Yes.
If he really wants to get to know you, then he's gonna stay in for the long game, you know, and we can always share more, but it's impossible to take back what we've shared. And so
Sally, I have an idea. I want to bring Amy back for 2 more sessions next month and the month after.
Okay, let's do it.
On dating and relationships and marriages and trauma. Because I think that COVID showed something that, you know, one person going through trauma, another one going through trauma. Now in the middle of COVID, a lot of people didn't last.
It's true.
Yeah.
And she has answers. So we have about 4 minutes left today. Here's what I want to say. Amy Van Slambrook is out of this world what she does. We're going to put her information in below. But if you could just tell us the website, but we're going to put it anyway. But Amy, what is your website?
amyvanslambrook.com. And it sounds so much more complicated than it is, but it's exactly as it sounds like it ought to be spelled.
Yes, and we're going to put it all there. But here's what I want to say to so many of my friends that watch. Amy is phenomenal as a speaker. So she does conferences, churches, all different types of events, speaking. But she could also do virtual, online conferences. Also as a life coach. Wow. Yeah. She's great with couples. She's where I send so many celebrity couples, other couples that are looking for someone that can help them. You see this in her, right, Sally?
Oh, yeah. And by the way, thank you, because I see you on there always supporting our show every week. And I'm like, who's Amy? I had met you. This is my first time meeting you. But Tim was like, Amy, we got to have her on. I'm like, yes, she's always there. Like, I want to meet her. So no, but of course you have it in you. What part of Florida do you live in case anybody wants to see you like face to face?
I live in Naples, but I'm all virtual now after COVID. So we can see each other face to face through Zoom.
Okay.
And I work with people all over the country. And so, yeah, I love your show. I watch every week and I just love it. It's so uplifting and so great. So, yes.
Okay. So Amy Van Slambrook, you could get to her website. Any parting thoughts, Amy? 60 seconds, anything you want to tell people?
I think it's just really important to remember you're in the middle of trauma. And so have grace for yourself, have grace for the people you love, and really focus in on just attending to one another, listening more than you're wanting to be heard. And I think that that's really important for everybody to remember right now when life is moving so fast and changing so swiftly. That will anchor you along with your faith.
Hey.
That's so great. So good. So I just want to say we do have a sponsor. I don't want to forget about them because they've been so gracious to help us continue the show. So I just want to thank Tomorrowland Productions, which is a local production company here in Beverly Hills, California, where they're doing some beautiful films and television and all kinds of great shows. So make sure to support them at tomorrowlandproductions.com. And then also, Tim and Amy and I are constantly posting on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure to follow us for some great tips and just some fun videos. So all the information is below. And of course, if you want to coach with any of us, the information is below as well.
Okay, life is good. We are celebrating transformation. We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
I'm gonna change the world, change